Hi, I'm Jen and I'm going to teach you how to make a classic old fashioned. So we're going to be using McLaughlin's $37.99 bourbon. It's excellent. It's very smooth. It's the perfect type of bourbon in my mind to make an old fashioned with. This isn't something that you really want to mix with a bunch of stuff. You just want to kind of bring out those beautiful caramel and vanilla notes that you have with this particular bourbon. So we're going to get started. And what I'm going to do this in a little bit of a different way. I'm going to have the essentials. We have our cherries. I'm going to use two different kinds of cherries here, and I'll explain that as I go on. I have my bitters, simple syrup. Typically I make my own, but I wanted to just use sort of a convenient product that you guys can just go out and buy at the store. And then we have our bourbon, of course. I have some ice here, two different kinds of ice. I just have regular ice from my ice cube trays, or you can get from your refrigerator. That's gonna be for our mixing to chill down all of our, our alcohol and our ingredients. And then we are going to use one of these big cubes. I love these big cubes because the small cubes melt faster, and then that tends to water your drink down. So I'm definitely not a water drink person, and so I want it to melt a little bit slower. I have a nice mixing spoon. I have my jiggers. I have my 2 ounce, and I'm going to use I'm not a big simple syrup fan for an old fashioned. I don't want it overly sweet because I don't want to lose that delicious flavor of the bourbon. So I'm going to use about a 1/4 ounce. I'll have that help me out here. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to start by getting some cherries here. And I'm going to take a couple cherries, and with that, I'm going to grab a spoon. I'm going to actually take the cherries, and I'm using the Bada Bing cherries. You'll notice that they're darker cherries. I'm just going to grab 2 of those. You can just use 1 if you want. They're not super expensive. They're not as expensive as these Luxardo cherries that we're going to put in it at the end, but they're still much more expensive than those bright red maraschino cherries. So we're going to use those. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my muddler, and I'm going to just go ahead and smash. And if you don't have one of these tools, that's okay. I would suggest getting it. A simple bar kit really isn't that expensive on Amazon. And I'm going to go ahead and just give that kind of a crushed up situation there. And you can always use like a spoon or something to kind of just break apart that cherry. It's going to give me that flavor without it being like a bunch of this syrup from the cherries. And then to that, I'm going to add my bitters. And bitters are completely up to you. So I'm going to use the Angostura Orange Bitters. You can use their traditional, and really the bitters is going to change the flavor of the drink for you. So if you have a specific type of bitters that you like, you can find bitters online. There's a ton of different flavorings. I'm just going to use the orange bitters. So I like a pretty heavy bitter drink. So I put 5. You probably want to start out at like about 3. Okay, and then I'm gonna add my simple syrup. And you know what was really cool that I learned in a class that I took was you add all of your cheapest ingredients first. That way, if for some reason you mess it up, you're not throwing away your good ingredients like this delicious $37.99 bourbon. I wouldn't wanna have to throw that out. So now everything is in there that we need. Bourbon going in next. And you know, an old fashioned can be made with pretty much anything, a bourbon, a rye. I'm a bourbon fan, so I love to have this on hand. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and throw in like 4 ice cubes. And then from there, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna stir. And again, the only thing that we're doing with the stirring is we're chilling down all of the ingredients. So, and mixing them as well. In order to stir a drink properly, people just start going around. You want to take the back of your spoon and put it against the glass, and you'll see I have a really long mixing spoon. And then you just kind of go around, and you'll see it takes some practice, but the spoon is just kind of between my middle finger and my ring finger. And you can see how nice it kind of just swirls around there as I go. So you just want to give it a couple swirls around. Again, you don't want the ice to melt too much, so you don't want to keep it in there for too long, and just enough to chill it down. So then I'm gonna take my strainer. I have this fun little strainer. A bar strainer is usually just round, but this one I think is so cute. It was for Christmas and it's got a little reindeer ears on it, but I like it all year round. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour that into my glass, and you're gonna see that it's got this really nice kind of red color to it. If you feel like you're getting too much of the cherry bits, you can take a little mesh strainer as well and strain it in from there. And then this is kind of the fun part. I'm gonna take an orange, and I don't want the big piece of the orange. I don't want a big giant chunk of orange in my old fashioned. That's kind of the old fashioned way from like the 1970s to put a big chunky piece of fruit in there. I don't want that. So I'm gonna take this nice peel, and you can make it look a little bit nicer than I did. And the peel has all kinds of oils. You can feel it anytime you eat an orange. So I can do a simple twist like this, and I'll get a bunch of those oils dropping in, releasing from the peel, and then I can put it into the glass. I can also flame the orange peel a little bit, which is gonna release the oils as well. If you're having friends over, that might be something you wanna do and impress them. Then I'm gonna take my Luxardo cherries. These are the really expensive ones, and they're expensive because they're delicious. They're dark cherries that are soaked in Luxardo, which is a liqueur. And I'm gonna go ahead and put that right there into my glass, and you'll see I have my orange, I have my orange peel, I have my cherry on my little skewer, and my big ice cube, and this drink is ready to go.